It's easy to understand, easy to implement. I think that's actually what comes across. It's pretty, with the stories, it kind of actually resonates. It makes sense about why you have to do the lessons in the book.
With every team I work with, we build a playbook like this, and we work until we get to like the third onboarding class, if you will. And by then we're getting onboarding to 2 to 3 weeks till the team is productive. And that's through following this process. What I put in the playbook is what I do with a lot of my clients that are focused on scaling outbound teams. I do a lot of other things too, a lot of full cycle consulting too, but for this book we focus primarily on outbound and prospecting.
Well, first it was, I think as we got together, I was like, I just want to tell the stories because there's so many crazy things that happen in sales, some funny things that happen. But as you kind of go through it, I'm like, I learned lessons from actually those really crazy things going on. So as we kind of put the thing together, I'm like, yeah, these are not just funny stories, but they're things that actually allowed me to be better at whatever, as sales or sales management.
I think one of the interesting parts about building the playbook was writing and rewriting and just getting great guidance. We worked with Corey Kirby, who read our book, and it had 2 parts at the beginning, and he said he almost gave up reading the first part. Then he said he got to the second part and he loved it. So we rewrote really the first part, almost scrapped it, and went back to the beginning. And Corey was just a great partner in that process. He also understands how books should be published. So we followed his lead, all the things that you might worry about, like ISBN numbers and how to actually get a book printed or how Amazon works. Like he knows all of that. And he also did the layout. So he knew the vision of the book needed to move. It needed to have simplicity. It needed to be compelling. It needed to entertain. And so the final layer of that was layout. And that's all Corey. So we got Peter and I writing, we got Eli doing all the illustrations, and then Corey brought this layer of layout that really makes it move. I think I challenge anyone to not read a chapter and find that they've read several more pages than they thought they were going to, because I think it moves all those components working together.
We were actually able to distill and get the essence of the story rather than just telling, so much story. So I think if you looked at early on, we got really wordy, trying to tell exactly what happened versus what the essence of the story is. So I think we've got, because Eli does such a great job with his characters, we can really just boil down to the essence of the story, and then he can, put his magic around the facial expressions and the different things around the background.
So one chapter that I thought was really important is the workflow. I see a lot of teams that the leadership has never sort of sat next to one of their reps and watched their daily motion. You need to know what they're doing, because that's how their day is. They might be in like 6 different tools, doing things 6 different ways. They are craving organization and process. So defining that workflow for your team is going to make sure that they can get faster over time. And it's really one of the most neglected parts of, I think, a sales organization, sales leadership's skill set. So we do have a chapter in there. It's really important. There's another chapter all about the tech stack. Obviously, the tech stack is changing like faster than ever before. But it is the same problem that Peter and I have seen for the last 30 years of our career, is that a lot of organizations look at tech to fix their process when it's just going to make your process maybe more confusing, more chaotic, and it's just going to amplify it, and especially with AI today. So the foundation always matters more than anything. Like, who are we going after? What makes us different? How do we operate? What's our process for our people? What's our workflow? And then get that right. And then you add technology and it will speed it up. You can't short circuit that, or you're going to have more chaos in your life. It's something I see all the time.
Actually, when we started, he wanted us to be superheroes. So I think he's understood actually more of what the nature is of what this story is, what we're trying to get across. So I think he's evolved in understanding what the messaging is that we want to get across. Really developing different characters and what their role is in these stories. We've given him a lot more freedom to come up with different ways to, design his characters in the background and the setting that they're in. So it allows us to focus on the message of the story. His facial expression is fantastic. Like, he can get the facial expressions really, really across about what we're trying to get across. So his artistry is fantastic.
So I grew up reading Mad Magazine, and I love comics, but I particularly like Mad Magazine. Eli really got that. We asked Eli, like, hey, let's start to layer in more background gags. Just have at it, whatever you want to do in the background. We'll give you some ideas too, Eli, but you have the freedom to take the background and run with it. And he's really done an amazing job with that. Mad Magazine called this chicken fat. Some people call it Easter eggs, but we encourage you to look at the background, both in the book, like where they're not comics, because we plan a lot of jokes too and some illustrations, but in the comics in particular, you're going to find a lot of like layers of jokes, layers of lessons, and a lot of gags, and it should entertain you. Eli's a real human drawing these things. We've got no AI in that process at all. And I really like that. We like to support artists. Eli's got, great history writing and illustrating The Tick, and he brings so much to the table. So over time, Peter and I got to refine our process, and we understood where we could, hey, let's just hand that off to Eli, see if he can figure that idea out. And the layout's all up to him. We might, we write in panels and pages, so we think through that to a degree. But we also have, over the last several years of working with him, know what we can hand off, and Eli's just fantastic at turning ideas into like better ideas that are in the comic illustrations.
Yeah, I think everybody with the stories, they resonate with people, and they could think of different things that happen to them. So it's just stories and the funny things that happen in the in their world of sales. But I think what the book does is then takes that and say, okay, this is actually a lesson. What did we learn from this? And we have a bunch of those in there, like where they're funny, but there's a lot to be gained from that. From like, okay, now how does that actually relate to what you can do better and not be that guy?
So we were on a long car ride, and Peter said, are you ever going to write a book? You are a sales consultant. And I said, yeah, I'd like to, but I just don't think I have an original idea. Sales books business books get kind of boring. Anyways, over the next couple of years, Peter and I started writing stories and scripts for stories. And Peter had this idea, like, wouldn't it be cool to turn them into comics? So yeah, we ironed down a bunch of stories in a year. Then we thought we had a good inventory. We went on the hunt. We found Eli and ran some tests with Eli, and he really caught on. And we basically from there spent a couple years turning these outrageous true stories into comics. And what we learned along the way is, like everything I like to do, is that there were lessons in them, and that there were layers of lessons. And we started to layer in jokes in the background of the stories as well to just make them more interesting. That led to actually turning it into a book. So I wanted the book to reflect what my consultancy is like. Strategic, a high level of foundation, getting all the key components right. That's everything I do with my clients, so that they can sustain themselves and they can scale from there. So I wanted the book to reflect that. But the other part of what I think I do so well is I get into the weeds on the details, and the execution really matters. And I do a lot of sales training, a lot of coaching along the way. So the book was a blend of those two things, or really all of those things. So how do we make this book really interesting, entertaining, and fun, and not boring? And how do we give the high-level strategic foundation that an outbound sales team needs? And then how do we get into the weeds on how to actually execute? And real examples. There are my client examples throughout the book of like real talk tracks and real LinkedIn messages and things like that. So it's filled with the nitty gritty that I think people really need to succeed. We added to that layer a series of sort of AI tools that will help any sales leader build their own playbook and have a partner in that. So we've created our own AI to do that, and that's sort of couples with the book. Someone asked me once, like, hey, like, doesn't a playbook need to be a living document? And absolutely. It's actually the last chapter in our book that focuses on this. We call it the culture, because what you're doing with a playbook is not a static thing. It's more about thinking through your sales process and the pieces you need for your team to succeed, right? From ICP to message and value to whatever channels you're using, email, cold call, direct mail, outside the box events. So all the channels that your team's going to, function in, we give very specific direction on how to do that. But we end with the culture, because the culture is about that this is a living document. So you want to iterate. You want to get something done, like 60, 80% done. And then as your team implements what you've put together, you're going to get real examples. You're going to get changes. You're going to get new ways of doing things. So you want to update your playbook, but you do want one source of truth so that they've got a place to go. But don't let it sit on the shelf. Iterate it, and it'll just become better and better. So as your organization scales, the next group will have a great starting place. I think one of his greater strengths is our hands and facial expressions, and I think he really nails Peter's look in particular. So yeah, I mean, look at composition in the comics, look at hands, look at faces. This is like expert level art direction, art design, graphic design. Like Eli brings all of that. He colorizes all these things himself too. So you're getting the full package here. And I hope that our audience of business and salespeople appreciates the quality of the comic as much as the lessons, the layers, the teachings that are embedded in the comics and the book.
It allows you a lot more freedom, right? So you can, especially with Eli's, artistry, he can have a lot more freedom of the storytelling in the background, and I think it gets the story across in a way that's just it's more entertaining, right? So it gives you different perspectives that you can draw, rather than trying to make a video of it or just telling the story. It comes across more, and then we do hide a lot of Easter eggs in there and gutter cat and so forth. So it just makes it more fun.
So the book has a lot of comics. It doesn't have all the comics we've written in. There's lots more. So when you get the book, we send you to a page where you can download all the templates for free if you want. You can use our AI. You can use my training program from there if you want. But also we give you access to bonus content. So there's some stuff that's not available. It's exclusive. So if you get the book, make sure you go to the website, download the resources. You get a link to some bonus content. And keep an eye on graphicsalesstories.com, because there's like lots of stories in there that are not in the book, and there will be more that will continue to come out. So Lori Richardson does the introduction to the book, and I just want to thank Lori for a bunch of things. One is that she looked over the book and gave us a lot of insights on like how it will be looked at from the female perspective, which is really important to us. So Lori was instrumental there. She also, this was a key moment with Lori, which I really appreciated, is she read the chapter on LinkedIn. Now, I wrote most of that chapter. I felt like something was off there. And she said to me, "Is that really how you think about LinkedIn, Tom? It's not how I think about it." And it was just the right piece of feedback, because I went and I rewrote the entire LinkedIn chapter. And I train a lot on LinkedIn, and I talk a lot about how young reps, it's your personal profile, it's your personal network. It's not your company's. And a lot of companies commandeer reps and, have them just blasting things out and automating. And I just don't think that's fair. But more importantly, it doesn't work. So what Lori was kind of getting at, and what I think I really focus on with teams, is that you need to build a long-term presence on LinkedIn, and there's some principles to follow, and there's like a 10-day sort of there's a 10-day exercise in the book of how to get your reps more proficient on LinkedIn. And it's not about the pitch and the automation. It's about like understanding how the platform operates. It's not like a call. It's not like an email. It's not like an event. You have to look at it differently. So thanks to Laura, I rewrote that whole chapter. Now it's one of the chapters I'm most proud of in the book. So when the book was near complete, we wanted to work on the introduction. And Corey said, look, your introduction needs to speak directly to the buyer of the book. And what we're trying to capture is, man, a sales manager's job, a sales leader's job can be total chaos, right? This is why you need a playbook, total chaos. Peter came up with this idea of a sales manager with like octopus arms, where surrounded by reps, asking questions, looking for things that they need to do their job better. And we sent that over to Eli, and Eli came up with this illustration. It's in the introduction, but it was so good that we put it on the back of the book because it is the pain, the problem that a sales manager is dealing with. So we loved it, right? It's like, oh, that's the pain. Then we got to the cover, and Eli had drawn a different illustration on the cover, which we're like, hey, I'm not sure that really works. But we all racked our brains on like, what should the cover illustration be? And finally, Peter had this light bulb moment, just like he did with the introduction, is what if we had, someone with a life preserver, their playbook has saved them. And that became this image, same sales manager that's in that story after how they feel. And so I just thought it was fantastic. Peter thought it was great. Eli nailed it. And I showed it to a few like sales managers I know just to get a take on it. And this one VP of sales said, and I was nervous, it's like, we're putting a woman on the cover. Are we representing female sales leaders properly? And she's just like, I love the look on her face, right? That quiet confidence, despite having to deal with so much in the role. And that really made me settle with like, yeah, we really nailed it here. And just, I think the cover really crushed it and illustrates the point of why you need a sales playbook in the first place.